So this question, you plug in, you get 0 over 0, and then you're sitting there thinking, how am I going to factor this thing? So this x cubed minus 1, that is a difference of 2 cubes, and that is a special little formula that we have way back when we learned factoring. So sometimes teachers will refer to it as the SOAP formula, and that SOAP formula just tells you the signs that you have. So if you're starting with a cubed and b cubed, what you do is you have the same sign, opposite sign, always positive. And then the structure of the factorization is going to be that in the first parentheses, you have the first power. So you have a to the first, b to the first. Then in the second set of parentheses, you have the second power. So you have a squared and b squared. And then in the middle here, you multiply the a times the b. All right, so let's apply that SOAP formula, difference of 2 squares, to what we know we got to factor, which is our x cubed minus 1. So to get our quote-unquote a in this formula, we take the cube root of x to the third, which gives us x. So that will be our a in the formula. Then we take the cube root of 1, which is going to give us 1, and that is our b in the formula. So once we have the x and the 1, then we can plug that in to this formula. So I don't really remember this formula. What I do is I say first powers in the first parentheses. So x to the first, 1 to the first. Then I say in the second set of parentheses, I'm going to square them. So it's going to be x squared and 1 squared, which would just be 1. And then in the middle, I multiply the two together. So x times 1 just gives us x. Then, once I deal with my parentheses, I do the signs. So we start with the original problem. We go for the first loop, the same sign. So we started with a negative, same sign will be negative. Then opposite sign, which will be positive. And then always positive to end, so we get a plus 1. So that is our factorization that we are going to plug in to our limit. So that's a very involved factorization because it's requiring us to remember that difference of 2 cubes formula. All right, so let's go back to our cute little limit here, limit as x goes to 1. We're going to plug in this factorization right here for the numerator. So the numerator will look like x minus 1, x squared plus x plus 1. And then the denominator, we have a difference of 2 squares. So for the denominator, we have x squared minus 1. Take the square root of the first, we get x. Take the square root of the last, we get 1. So we write that as x and 1, x and 1. And then because it is a difference of 2 squares, we write a plus and a minus. So that is our factorization. And honestly, once the factorization is done, then we're home free because we see that these x minus 1's cross out and we have the limit as x goes to 1 of x squared plus x plus 1 over x plus 1. The problem, the hole that we had at x minus 1, that is now crossed out, and so we can plug in 1. So we get 1 squared plus 1 over 1 plus 1. Again, when we plug in, we lose all the x's, so we lose the limit notation. And that gives us that our limit is 3/2.